Okay, guys, good evening. It is Wednesday, September 6, 2017. It is 8:21 p.m. New York time. I did make a video last night regarding the Aussie GDP news that I want to just follow up on. I was going to do it last night, but it got too late, and I ended up going off to bed. But I did want to point out what we saw, and which pretty much lived up to what I was saying last night. And I hope you took some advantage of the profit, but also was careful. And so I'm going to just show you the three trades I took, or at least where we got in last night, and you know what I kind of saw. So this is the Euro Aussie, and as if you watched the video last night, I said this looked like it was going to go up, and did. So this red arrow right here is actually where the news came out last night, and you can see it was a little spike down, which completed this correction here to this uptrend, and then we went up. And this move up, this is the hourly chart. This pretty much was the rest of the Asian session. And as I did say last night that you know, I would have been cautious trading this beyond the Asian session. Because of the fact that, you know, the euro is in a downtrend and the Aussie has been in an uptrend as currencies, and so I was cautious about that. And you can see it, indeed, that's what happened. This candle right here, let's see, was at 1500 hours on my broker account, so that would be, let's see, 0 hours 5 p.m. the day before, so this is 8 a.m. so this is about the 8 a.m. candle here. So we went up through the London session, and then right about when the New York session opened, the market came back down, and now we're going back down again. So you certainly could have held this into the early London session, probably squeezed a little bit more out. I actually did get taken out right at this high. I put a take profit right at this recent high. And again, the reason why I did that is because, you know, honestly, if you look at the Euro Aussie, because of this move down, because of this move up last week, I felt that this was basically an ending pattern right here, 1 2 3 4 5, and now we're going to probably have a correction at least back down to this area here. So I didn't feel comfortable holding this trade endlessly to the upside, and so I did get out right at the top here. So that's the Euro Aussie, and the other ones I took were Aussie Yen, and this is where I got in on the Aussie Yen, and I got out on this one a little bit early. I got out I think right about here. It did go back up and came back down and did make two more new lows, but I exited this one early. But as you can see, it did go back up, and as anticipated, because again, the Aussie has been in a pretty strong uptrend. I thought this one would go a little bit more, only because the yen has been very strong lately, but you know, it's basically you know, two strong currencies fighting against each other last night, and so really this move down here was just a correction. But it was good for a short-term trade. This is the 15-minute chart, and I still picked up, you know, a few pips on this. But as you can see now, we're working our way back up, and looks like this is going to probably end another trend up here. Probably have a 1 2 3 4 5 maybe. We'll see on that. But there's no news really to drive this, so I'm not looking to trade it. And the last one to look at is the pound Aussie. This is where the pound Aussie went up, and this was at the news, and you can see again it went all the way up, and I had this trend line drawn here. This was on the chart before, and you can see it basically came right back to the trend line and poked through it a little bit, had a little throw over, and then it came back down. But again, I mean, the pound has been down, the pound Aussie has been down on combination of kind of lackluster anything on the pound. And still some Brexit talk going on and things, but mostly due to strength of the Aussie. And so that is what happened. We go back down here, we see that we went up and finished this move up, and this really probably could be considered an ABC pattern. I didn't measure this before, but this is about 130 pips here, and then back to here, Same thing about 130. So this is really an ABC pattern, and then we're moving back down again. So again, and this probably, let's see when this candle was. This was also at the beginning of the New York session. So London session pushed up a few more times, and then as soon as New York opened, we saw this sell off as the New York traders came in. But again, that's just basically returning the trend back to where it was. So again, guys, it's just kind of a little bit of follow up. Today we had the Canadian cash rate and statement was much more bullish. They actually they raised rates, which was not anticipated. They had anticipated only keeping the rate the same. I think a hawkish statement was anticipated, but they were not expected to raise the rates, but they did. And you can see you can pretty much go to any Canadian pair. Here's the pound Canadian, because I took this one right from the top here, because to me this was a picture perfect short setup from an Elliott wave standpoint. This is a ABC corrective pattern. So I actually took this. I got out somewhere about here. You can see it's pulled back, but this is going to go down again. I'll wait for a little bit more of a correction. I probably will re-enter this short. Because the Canadian really is very strong, and like I said, you can go through any Canadian pair and you'll see pretty much the same thing. Here was the Kiwi Canadian. I also took the Euro Canadian and the Canadian Swiss. Here's the Canadian Swiss. You can see the move up. This is on the hourly chart. Let's just go to the 4-hour, make it a little easier. So this was the news. Again, we're correcting down. I expect this to keep going up. US Canadian, same thing, down, correcting currently. Euro Canadian, same thing. This is where the news came out. Again, this is really textbook. I mean, this is a perfect ABC pattern, Elliott wave. I mean, strong downtrend, ABC, and then straight down. And you can see the CCI indicator here going up, spread apart on this correction. And then we had compression going down, and now we're turning back up as a correction. This is the 4-hour chart. We zoom out here down to the 30. This is a real beautiful view right here, because you've got the CCI going down, straight down, compressed, which is a very impulsive move. And then when you have the CCI going up, spread apart like this is definitely corrective. So I do anticipate that we'll kind of drift around. We may actually go a little bit higher here overnight, and then we'll see this downtrend continue. And so again, I'm not going to beat this dead horse, but this is just more. The market really is very bullish on the Canadian dollar, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And so I think it's a good trade, and hopefully you got in it. It was very, very violent action here when that news came out, because they were not expecting to have this this rate be raised. So if you weren't already in this trade, you missed it, because it went from here to here in about 2 seconds, and you missed the whole move basically if you weren't already in. I was already in this trade. I got in before the news came out, so I really, I took about 300 pips on this in literally a matter of minutes. And so it was a good trade, and it just goes to the strength of knowing the difference between a correction and an impulsive move. And clearly that's what we had here, and knowing the timing of the news. That's why the fundamentals are so important to know. It doesn't matter, you got to know what the fundamentals are. You got to know what the market's thinking and what they're looking for, and not open up your charts and say, oh, what caused this, and not have any clue. And I see people posting that, like, what caused the big drop in the Euro Canadian, or what caused the Canadian dollar to rally? Nobody has, I read people have no idea. And it's like, people, if you have no idea why this happened, honestly, you probably shouldn't be trading, because you're just gambling at that point. It's like trying to trade with your eyes closed. If you're only trading just price action, especially if it's not Elliott wave, if you're trading any other kind of price action, and if you're trading just Elliott wave, you probably could do this, but the beautiful thing about following the news releases, not only would you know that this was a corrective Elliott wave, but you would know when that correction is going to end. You look at your economic calendar, say, look, there's a major announcement coming out on the Canadian dollar. This correction looks like it's ending. well, maybe I should be looking at my charts at that time and maybe go short before the news comes out. So it's not necessarily trading the news. It's looking at the Elliott wave pattern and understanding what that says. But it's equally about knowing your fundamentals and when something might be coming out. And that's really my point here. And so. And like I said, you can look across any of the Canadian pairs. You're going to see this same exact thing. And like I said, if you got in after this news came out, you were probably filled over here, and you probably ended up either with very small profit or maybe even a loss because you missed it. You just missed the whole thing. Now, if you want to stick with it, this uptrend will probably continue. But you could have made a lot of pips in really a matter of seconds here. And you just don't get trades like that all the time. So it's easy money to make if you know the patterns and if you know what the fundamentals are doing. So last quick thing, guys. Tomorrow there is an equally important news event, and that is the ECB is going to have its rate decision and statement. 7 a.m. New York time is the rate decision, and then 7:45 they'll have their statement and press conference. Again, not expected to change the rates, so I don't think 7 a.m. will necessarily be the most important part, but the 7:45 a.m. Statement and press conference will be key in how Mario Draghi phrases this. That the euro has been really pretty strong up until just recently. So it'll be interesting to see if he continues to talk it down or if he remains on a hawkish stilt. The market really has been buying up the euro. Now, we've been kind of moving down here over the last week or so, but we had this big move up. We had this correction down for a few weeks, and then we started to move back up again. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Look at the euro dollar. Probably a better one to look at. Again, look at the euro dollar. This is the daily chart. I mean, this thing has been going up since the end of last year. Since December we bottomed out, and we've been really have not looked back since then. And here's the weekly chart. Again, going back to November, December, we bottomed out. We had a major bottom. We've been moving up ever since. So it'll be interesting to see my early look at this. Now it's very early. We're still 11 hours from the news. But if the news were to come out right now, I'd be shorting this pair because this is clearly in a correction. You can see this move down. Now we're kind of moving up and sideways. This is a beautiful corrective pattern. But it'll be interesting. Now we have 11 hours till the news comes out. So where will this be tomorrow morning? I don't know. If it's still trading up in this above this trend line, I'm going to go short. If for some reason it falls through the floor overnight, which I'm not anticipating, then I'd look to go long. But at this point, euro dollar looks pretty bearish to me, and the euro yen was another one I looked at. And again, I'm interested in this pair because of the strength of the yen lately, because of the sentiment in the market with flight away from the dollar a little bit. The yen has been strong. This one doesn't look as good, but I'd still be looking to short this. Euro Canadian, again, on the back of the Canadian strength. If this corrects, the Euro Canadian would be great to continue the downtrend. Remember, a weak euro and a strong Canadian dollar means a nice move to the downside. Euro Kiwi, same thing. This looks like it's probably this is a trend. This is the 1 hour chart. 1, 2, 3. We're moving a correction down. I anticipate somewhere around the time of the news that the price to be back up in this area, and that would be a beautiful time to short that one. Let me look at this on a higher time frame. Yeah, look at the 4 hour chart. We have this move down. This is probably a 1. Maybe this move up is a correction too, and then we'll continue down. So I like Euro Kiwi. I like Euro Canadian. I like Euro Dollar. Euro Swiss looks pretty good too. I'm not a real big fan of the Swiss pairs, but I mean but the Swiss has been pretty strong lately too. Again, on flight to safety, so I would anticipate this one too. So those are all good ones to look at. And so again, it's an early look, and again we're at 11 hours from the press conference and about 10.5 hours from the actual rate. So obviously this is all subject to change. But anyways, guys, lesson learned again. Watch your fundamentals. Use that to help time your entries and exits, regardless of what technical system you use. But understanding that Elliott wave patterns are really going to help, pinpoint and give you really good things to look at to be able to read the market and know when a correction is probably going to end and how big it's going to be, etc. Anyways, guys, so longer than I thought, but I wanted to get that all out, and I wish you happy trading for the rest of the week, and maybe we'll make a follow-up video tomorrow night regarding the ECB decision. All right, guys, thanks. Have a great night. We'll talk to you all soon.